Welcome to another episode of the No More Wasted Days podcast. I'm your host, Sara, and today I'm talking all about moderation and even relapse with my good friend, Laura Van Antwerp, who you know from Instagram and TikTok as Your Sober Pal. This is actually Laura's third time on the podcast, so I think she gets some sort of an award, like when people are on SNL 5 times. I might have to get one of those special coats because she is my longest running guest. Every time I chat with Laura, it is so much fun, which sounds strange when you're talking about things like moderation and relapse, but I love that she brings a realness to sobriety. I think a lot of times when we quit drinking, we think our life is going to be really dull, it's going to be really boring now, and we're not going to have any fun. And Laura totally breaks that mold that we think we're going to step into when we quit drinking. She is always posting about all of the amazing fun things she's been able to do in her sober life, and she even hosts sober adventure retreats, and you can still get into some of them for this summer and fall in 2026. So if you're listening to this episode and you're thinking you need a little sober adventure in your life this summer, go check out the link in the show notes or head to yoursoberpal.com. And before we dive all the way into this episode, I want you to know that you can join the Daymakers community today. The Daymakers is my private alcohol-free community. It is for people at all different levels of their alcohol-free journey. There are people just starting out on their alcohol-free journey in the community, and there are people who have up to 5 years alcohol-free as well. This means we can all learn from each other and stay accountable to each other in our private message thread and on our weekly group coaching calls. If you need a little extra support on your alcohol-free journey, check out the link in the show notes for the Daymakers today. It's $7 for your first 2 weeks, and after that, it's $30 a month. Again, the link is always in the show notes to every episode of my podcast, so check that out if you're curious. Now we're going to dive into talking about moderation and relapse with Laura, and she's going to offer some great motivation for you and tips if you are struggling to stay alcohol-free right now on what you can do to come back after a relapse. All right, let's get to the interview. Welcome to the podcast, Laura.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, this is actually your third time on the No More Wasted Days podcast.
I love it. I love coming back. It gets better each time.
Yeah, you're becoming a regular and I love it too. I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's so fun. I always just crack up because Laura was one of the first sober content creators that I followed. And I was like, other people do this? Other people are crazy enough to share their drunk stories and the fact that they quit drinking. So it still always kind of blows my mind how you actually become real friends with the people you see on the internet.
It's so true. And it's so fun. It's been one of my favorite parts about this whole space is connecting with everyone and becoming friends and seeing that they're real people. Because I feel like I looked up to you and I was like, Sarah's so cool. And then when I met you, I was like, she's actually really cool in person too. Like, I don't know what I was expecting, but I was like, she's amazing IRL.
Yeah, it's always good when you actually meet somebody and they're like they are on the internet. You're like, oh, good. They are. And Laura is the same way, I have to say. I always tell people, if you're not following Laura yet, you better go follow her.
Oh, you're so sweet. I do the same.
She's gonna add some laughter into your sobriety journey, which we all need.
Aww.
But today we're talking all about moderation and relapse, which doesn't sound so joyful. But I'm gonna ask you to go way back and see if you can remember your first experience trying to moderate.
Oh my gosh.
I don't even know if I can. I know it's really hard. Or you can just pick your moderation memories.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a blur, right? And I kind of consider it as an integral part of anyone's like sobriety journey. I mean, who gets sober without trying to moderate first? Like, I doubt anybody does. So, but I do remember like, because everyone around me drank. So I just assumed I needed to get it under control and lock it in. And I do remember doing the little rules thing, like not drinking before 5 p.m. and only drinking beer and wine. And I believe those were my first early attempts in trying to moderate. At the time, I was working in the restaurant industry. And, I wouldn't go sit at the bar for a shifty afterwards. And it was just drinking was such a part of my day to day. And so I think with the moderation journey, I was really trying to find a way to stay doing those things and keep drinking without getting totally effed up. And so, I think it was setting the rules so that I can learn how to drink like a lady.
It's like the dream all of us had. We're like, if only we could just drink like a quote unquote normal person.
Yes.
And I kept thinking, I just have to get better at this. And the way to get better at it, obviously, is to keep practicing moderation, which I was completely failing at. I think I was thinking about it while you were talking. I think my first trying to moderate was probably in college when I would tell myself, I'm just going to have a glass of water between each drink.
Ooh.
I'm going to do the water spacer, and that's totally going to work. And it didn't. I was still, and I look back at it now and I'm like, I was a binge drinker out of the gate.
Same.
And all these things that you're like, oh, I guess that's a sign.
I'm impressed you were trying to moderate in college. Like, I was just trying to get effed up as fast as I could. I don't think moderation crossed my thought process until my 20s. So that's actually pretty cool. You were ahead of the game, Sarah.
I was already trying to be a quote unquote responsible drinker. It really was because I had such terrible hangovers and I would black out. So 2 more signs too that should have been like, maybe drinking's not for you. But I was like, nope, I just got to get better at it. And if people gave me tips, Ryan's dad would always tell us, when I used to drink, I would just, if I had too much, I would drink some pickle juice before I went to bed. And I've never had a hangover. Have you heard the pickle juice?
I have not heard the pickle juice thing. I've heard about the charcoal thing because I remember when I bartended, people would brag about their charcoal hack, and I never seemed to work though. Did the pickle juice thing work?
I didn't try the pickle juice. I was thinking about it the other day because I was looking for pickles in our fridge, and I was thinking, oh man, Bill always told us to do pickle juice. Why didn't we try that? Maybe we could have kept drinking.
That was the one thing we missed, Sarah. We could have still been out there.
Yep. No way.
Oh, still out there delusional.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. The charcoal one, I did do that. And that one went with me to the very end.
Really?
I would be drinking, and I took some liver cleanse supplement. I would take that. And you were supposed to take that before. This is ridiculous. And this is all part of moderation. If you're doing these things, you are trying to moderate, and you need to kind of stop and go, okay, it might be a red flag if you have a whole pill regimen to go with your drinking. I would take my liver detox pill before drinking, and then you could take it midway through drinking as well. And then the charcoal was the last thing. I would put it on my nightstand sometimes before I knew I was going to drink. So I knew that I would take my charcoal and my Advil, and I would have my Gatorade waiting for me in the middle of the night.
Oh, gosh.
And I know
love
that
the Gatorade thing, I did do that. The electrolytes thing, because you're like, it's the hydration that creates the hangover, and you are convinced you can solve the equation.
And so if you can just, I look back at it and I'm like, I worked hard to keep drinking. And then when I quit and I had all these pills, I was like, oh, I guess I can throw these away. But then after you take activated charcoal, you take out all the good bacteria and the bad bacteria. So you're throwing your gut biome off even more.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. See, I was a very holistic person. So then I would take my probiotic the next day.
Wow.
Like, you have to be all on top of it. So why do you think that we're all trying so hard to moderate?
I think a big part of it is I can only really speak for myself, and I really wanted to keep drinking so that I think a lot of it was because everybody else was drinking, and I wanted to fit in, and I wanted to be connected with the people around me. I think at the core, a lot of us, what we yearn for is feeling loved and connecting with people. And for a lot of us, and I think culturally speaking as well, a lot of it really centers alcohol. You get together at the bar, you get together for drinks. And that's kind of how it was with my circles at the time. And the thought of removing alcohol, I think subconsciously I equated it with removing that connection. And I think that's why I fought so hard to moderate, is I just wanted to be able to control it so that I could still enjoy those things and have the relaxation and the unwinding and whatever that I believed alcohol brought to the equation with that.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And there's a huge part too. And just like, we obviously had our circle of friends that were drinkers, because you're going to hang out with people who drink like you, because it makes your drinking feel totally normal then. As long as everybody else is doing it, we're good. Right. But then it always felt like all the other people that I was drinking with were still doing it better than me.
100.
Like, they were the ones filling me in. Do you know that you did this? And I was like, oh, how interesting.
And the thing
I
is
didn't
too,
know.
I think part of that too is like you see everybody else being able to quote unquote moderate. So you think they can do it. I can do it. I just got to figure out how to.
Yes. Yeah. And what's the tagline that big alcohol shoves down our throat from being kids? It's drink
Yeah.
responsibly. It's at the end of every single commercial, but be sure to drink responsibly. And you're like, okay, I
Yeah,
can
I
do
got that.
that. And that's something where I'm trying to talk to my own kids now, even about you don't really need alcohol. It's not something you need to survive. And it's just really hard because I can tell my daughter's on that she's sold. I don't need alcohol. I don't need drugs. And I'm like, yes, I got one.
Uh,
But my son I think he's very curious and you can tell. And I'm just like, oh gosh, okay. And I just keep trying to be like, that you have a higher chance of addiction because of your mom and your dad and other family members. So if you can just wait, I keep telling him, if you can just wait until you're like 25 to drink, you have such a higher chance of being a normie.
is
And
that
that's what
true?
I always wanted. Yes, there's been all these studies. If we could have just waited, that was actually the big hack. If we would have waited.
Really? I have never heard that before.
Yeah, and I told my son, I was like, that's my biggest dream
Yeah.
that I could have moderated.
Right. 100%.
Like,
To be satisfied with one, a dream.
yeah. And I don't know if it has to be with your brain being, it probably does have to be with your brain being fully formed and it just not becoming as dependent on the substances and equating events with substances. So that's my big push to my kids. Just wait till you're 25.
I love it. I did not know that, but it makes so much sense. I didn't start drinking until I was
Yeah.
20, no, 18. Yeah, I was young. All right.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
waited
I was going
though.
to say, I was in college when my heaviest drinking started. So definitely, I was probably 18, 19. And because then it was too hard to get in high school.
Really? Even house parties? You didn't have, there wasn't alcohol there?
So I was a stoner. And
God.
my big story is we got kicked out of a party once because all the stoners arrived and they didn't want weed smoked at their party. Like all the popular kids were like, get out. You can't be here.
That is so funny because weed was worse than alcohol.
I know. And they were totally like, we don't want you to smoke weed in this house. We know this crowd of people is going to do that. And I was just like, oh my God, I'm finally at a party. Oh, I'm being kicked out of a party.
That is so funny. I'm dead.
Yeah. But then I was a lifeguard in high school, like my final summer. That was a drinking crew. And that's probably where I was finally like, we were out there saving lives by day and drinking by night.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, it was, man, like the whole scene, like with the drinking and being like sitting in and just connecting. It was
Yeah.
such a core part of our youth. It makes so much sense why we jumped on it so quickly. I know I did.
Yeah. I think now too, even with Gen Alpha kids, it's not as cool to
It's
drink.
not.
But
Yeah.
it's definitely like weed has become much more streamlined. So there's still stuff.
Yeah. Weed
'Cause
and
my son,
vaping, I think, is the new.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's always asking about weed. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, it's also addictive. I was like, don't believe the stoners when they tell you it's not addictive. Don't believe the stoners when they say you can't smell it.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
like, they're stoned. They don't know.
So true. So true.
I always look at him and I'm like, I'm going to know if you're smoking weed. Okay.
You're talking to the expert here, the retired
expert.
pro. Like, I know.
Yeah. So what are some red flags? I know we kind of talked about them. What are some red flags that you think people should watch out for that kind of say it's time to just quit? No more moderation.
I feel like sometimes moderation is an essential part of the process. So I'm never going to tell someone to not try moderating before quitting. But I know for me, I remember, okay, I always tell people, pay attention. Pay attention, number one. And number two, be honest with yourself. Be for effing real with yourself. How much work is it taking you to moderate? Because I think that's one of the biggest signs is if it's a lot of effort to moderate your drinking, are you even actually enjoying it at that point? There's this quote that I read that really resonated with me back then. And it went something like, when I drank to have fun, I couldn't control it. And when I drank to control it, I didn't have fun. And I remember like all these bells went off because at the time I was on this mission to learn how to moderate, but it was such a freaking struggle. And I remember there would be times where I'd be at a party and I would be like, I'm only having 2 drinks. And someone would be talking to me and I'd be halfway through my second drink and I didn't even hear what they said to me because I was so fixated on wanting a third drink. But I was
Yeah.
determined not to have that third drink, but I was desperate for it. And I just yearn for that third drink. And are you actually a moderate drinker if you have to struggle to have one or two drinks? And also, doesn't that defeat the whole purpose of drinking? You drink to have fun and relax. Are you having fun and relaxing when you're fighting and struggling to moderate? Miss me with that. And it was such a huge awakening for me when I started to actually pay attention to how moderation felt and how my relationship with alcohol truly was. And I think that was not the red flag, but also the sign that it was probably time to explore quitting for good.
Yes, I think that's what it was for me too. I read This Naked Mind, and at the very end, she said, "I'm not going to tell you to quit drinking forever." And she repeated that the whole way through the book. But at the end, she said, "But I really want you to think about, is it easier to just quit, or is it worth the work that moderation is going to take?" And I was kind of like, yeah, that's where I could see for me, moderation was it was a job.
A job.
And I was doing I would have been fired but it's just because I was doing such a bad job at moderating. And I was just like, oh, and I'm like you, if I was trying to have 2 drinks, I was bummed the whole night.
Yeah.
And I was fixated on, God, I can't believe I'm already done with my 2 drinks. That went really fast.
It's like when you're moderating, it's like I'm either not drinking the amount I want to drink and I'm bummed or frustrated, or I drink too much and then I'm also bummed and frustrated. So where am I not bummed and frustrated? Someone explain.
Yeah, exactly. So I always think that moderation is more of that time period when you're trying so hard to still hang on to alcohol. But relapse is when you've said you're actually done with alcohol. You stay sober for a while, and then for whatever reason, you just say, fuck it, and you drink again. So do you mind sharing how many times you relapsed? If that's the definition, you were really like, I'm quitting. Yeah. No, I'm not. I'm drinking.
Oh my gosh. I honestly have no idea how many times. My famous fit quote that I always say is, if I had a pickle for every day one I saw, I'd be able to garnish every burger in America, because I had so many relapses. And by relapse, try to quit drinking for good and then drinking again.
Yeah.
Which is, like you said, different than moderating. And I do remember my relapse chapter was a long one, and it was rough. It's defeating to get to a point where you're desperate to be sober and you just can't lock in. It was really hard. I do remember in the beginning, it was like I'd get a couple days and then I'd relapse, and then I'd be able to get a week and then I'd relapse. And then it was a couple weeks, then a couple months. And my last chunk of time I had was 7 months before this very last relapse. And now I have almost 9 years. So each time, the amount of time I got would get bigger. But yeah, it was a lot. It was rough.
Yeah. And I think it's really important that you share that, because I think so many people will watch and say, what, are you 9 years alcohol free now?
Yeah. Not yet.
Yeah.
But on August 1st.
August. Okay. Yeah. So, because people will watch you and probably be like, oh, she's 9 years. I wish I could have that. And I need you to stop and go, it took her basically a year of starting and stopping. And the more people that I meet who have quit drinking, the more common that is. And it's just, I work with a lot of people who get so frustrated, and it's hard too, even when you're on the other end, because you want somebody to quit so badly because you know how amazing it is over on the other side. But you also have to be like, look, you're getting farther and farther every single time. So did you experience kindling? Like, was it getting harder and harder every single time you quit, or what is
kindling? I've never heard that.
Oh, it's where when you quit and you start drinking again, and then you quit and you start drinking again, every single time it gets harder and harder, and your withdrawal symptoms become worse and worse. Oh. So it's kind of like you're keeping the fire going just a little bit by coming back to drinking. So you're like throwing kindling on the fire by coming back every single time.
You mean like it's harder to quit? You mean each time?
Yeah. Yeah. So was it like that for you?
Oh, man. No, it wasn't like that for me. I do remember every time I quit, I had such a different early sobriety experience. So I feel like I can, because a lot of people will have a really sad, depressing, no pink cloud in early sobriety. And some people have a really strong pink cloud. Some people, it's all over the place, like how someone's early sobriety is going to look like. And I experienced all of them. I've had early sobrieties where I was like, this is it. This is the time. And I'm locked in. And I felt so good. And then I drank again. And there have been times where I was like super sad and I was like, this sucks. And so I don't know if it was harder every time. I do know that every time I was sober, I feel like I learned something new about myself and I got something that made me want to get sober more. And I am really grateful for that 7-month period where I was sober before this last relapse, because I feel like I really got a taste of the joyful part of sobriety. And also I really started to see who I truly was and who I could become in sobriety. And I think it was like that taste was so important for me because after I had a really crippling relapse. I relapsed after my friend took her life at her memorial, and I was super depressed and I was like, I don't know how I'm going to stay sober, but I just having that glimmer of hope and seeing what was possible gave me enough to not give up. And so I'm really grateful for that. And so that's another thing I always tell people too. Pay attention to the glimmers that you have with every chunk of sobriety. Even if it doesn't feel super joyful or you don't have a pink cloud, maybe you respect yourself more. Maybe you move a little bit differently. There's always something really cool waiting for you in those little periods of sobriety. Even if you can't get it to stick, you're always learning.
Yeah, I think that's so important. And it's like hanging on to the glimmers is probably the most important thing. I always tell people, write down one thing you did each day because you chose not to drink. And there will be some days where you'll write down like 15 things.
Yes.
And then there will be some days where you're just like, oh, I got to wake up without a hangover today.
That's such a good tip, though. I love that. I wish I did that because when you reflect back on that stuff,
you can go back.
Yes.
Yeah. And you get far away from it at a certain point. And you hit 5 years and you're kind of like, yeah, I'm sober now. You're just like, and you do think sometimes, is this actually worth it? But if you can go back and look and say, look at all the cool shit I've gotten to do because I've chosen not to drink. And then you're just like, oh, it makes it a little bit easier because I don't want people to think that it's all. I had a big pink cloud person. I was like pink cloud all the way.
My very last time was super depressed at first, obviously because of the circumstances. But then when I started putting in the work, my pink cloud really showed up. And I always tell people too, if you don't have a pink cloud, I'm telling you, if you start putting in the work, the inner work, you can really create a pink cloud. And it's amazing. It's awesome. Better than any tequila shot.
And you can actually, I feel like you can kind of rekindle the pink cloud too. And it's by doing the work. Because I've noticed when I become kind of stagnant on my journey, I'll go, I don't even know if this is worth it anymore. And then I'll start putting in the work and I'm like, oh my God, sober life is the coolest.
Totally.
Just like
100%.
So that one goes in perfect to the next question. I was going to ask you, if someone's relapsed, what's your number one piece of advice to them?
The first thing I tell them, so one thing I noticed with people who relapse, so when I was relapsing a lot, you feel so hopeless. You feel so defeated. You wonder if it's ever going to happen for you. And you kind of feel like you're going to be the only person on planet Earth that's not going to get this thing. And I relate to that. And I relate and understand that space. And I think one of the things that contributed to that was when every time I'd quit drinking, I'd be like, I'm never going to drink again. I'm never going to drink again. And then you relapse and you're like, I'm such a loser and I broke my promise to myself again, but this time I'm never going to drink again. And I always tell people, instead of saying you're never going to drink again, promise yourself that you're never going to give up. And so I think it's really important to shift that promise to yourself. Promise you'll never give up. Promise you'll stay willing to try new things, even things you don't feel like doing, and trust that you'll find something that works for you, because everyone's sobriety is different. What works for each person's unique. And you just got to find the pair of pants that fits you in sobriety. And so just don't give up and keep trying something new until you find something that clicks for you. And you totally will. You're not, and I always tell people, you're not so special that you're like the one person on earth that's not going to get sobriety. I'm sorry. I wish you could be that special and unique, but you're not. You are one of many people who will probably get sober and live your most ultimate, best, amazing life. And I'm excited for when that happens.
It'll totally happen for you. I love that idea because it's something that I realize too, like we all realize we're not that special anyway when we're on the journey. And that feels mean when you say it to people who are in early sobriety, but it's more like you sit in rooms with people or on Zoom sessions or whatever, where you hear people's stories and you're like, oh, that's like my story.
I've not, yeah,
Oh,
I've never had a
okay.
unique experience in my life. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not the only one who did this. I'm not the only one who had a 40th birthday party for my husband. I might be. And everybody got naked in the hot tub. And then I broke my toe and I don't remember how I did it. It's like I can have that story, but then I can hear somebody else's story and be like, whoa, that's crazier than my story.
Yeah.
I guess that's what I'm. And then you start to go, wow, okay. I wasn't so unique in my drinking problem. So I'm not going to be so unique in how I can get sober, but it is so important to find your own way.
Yes.
And there are so many ways now. That's what I love, because I even felt like when I quit, and that was 7 years ago, I felt like AA was the only option.
Yeah.
And I was deathly,
Totally.
like, when I say that now, I'm like, what? Why was I so afraid? But I was like, hell no, I'm not going to a meeting. I still have not gone to a meeting. But I always tell people, I know when all the meetings happen that are close to me, because I keep them in my back pocket for, especially when I quit weed. That's when sobriety hit a whole new level for me and it became harder. I really had to raw dog life finally. And weed was the one that I relapsed on a lot and kept going, okay, I'm not going to do this anymore. And I'd go 2 days and I'd go, okay, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'd go 2 weeks. One time I went almost a year and it's just, I was like, I'm never going to get this. And then you'd fall into the, maybe I'm just a stoner.
Yeah.
There's worse things that I could be. Like I could be stoned and drunk. Now I'm just stoned. And then I was like, I don't want this story for myself. And so it was just kind of, and going on your retreat, which segues perfectly, is when I quit doing weed. And it was really powerful for me to hear other women share that they also smoked weed. They were sober from alcohol, but they were working on quitting smoking weed. It was really hard for them. And I found out I wasn't unique. And I was like, oh, there's other people just like me. And I remember sitting, I was chatting with one of the girls that I'm still really good friends with. And we were chatting away. And then she got up and left. And I set my tracker to whatever days it was. It had been 4 days.
I didn't know that.
Because I was sitting there and I had my weed-free tracker going. And at that point, it said I was like 800. I don't know. It wasn't 800, but it said I was almost a year. And I was like, no, I'm not, because I fucked up. Yeah. So I set it back to day 4. And now it's just been going since then.
Wow. I've never smoked weed, but I know it's a really hard one for people. I have someone very close to me who's trying to cut back right now, but has been on and off the weed wagon. And like you said, a lot of people in the sober space are still smoking weed or cutting down. But yeah, it makes sense. It's tough, but I'm sure you feel the same way. I'm all about harm reduction as well. If it helps you, sometimes you got to take the stairway down with things.
Exactly.
I feel like
I always tell people, if you can quit it all at once, quit it all at once, because it's hard to do that final piece. Yeah. But if you're going to be Cali sober with the goal to just be totally sober, then so be it. And it's something we kind of talk about it in the Daymakers, but I never want to recommend it as a path. I never want to be like, yeah, just smoke weed instead. I'm like, right. It's still just as I feel like it's obviously not as hard on your liver, but it still doesn't let you hit that emotional sobriety that so many, then that's where the real pink cloud comes in, when you can have that true emotional sobriety.
That's good to hear from you, because I guess I don't know that personally. So it's hard for me. So it's good for me to know from my loved ones. I do have a co-host. I don't know. Oh no, I don't think you know this co-host, but she has just been texting me. She's 2 months cannabis free. I'm so proud of myself. And she's been going through a really hard chapter in life, and she's staying 1,000% sober. And I am like so freaking proud of her. And she's turning to yoga, and I realized my true baseline. So I'm getting the right medication I need to be on. And I'm like, oh my God, that's so true. Like, how are you ever going to know what your true baseline is if you always are like drinking or smoking weed and can never get properly medicated? And so I'm just like, it's been really cool to watch her journey. And I just feel so proud of her. And it's just the resilience. It's really beautiful. And so and same with you. It's been really cool to watch you blossom in all your phases of sobriety.
My sober, as I call it.
Sober.
When some of those mean old white men on Facebook like to say, aren't you just Cali sober? And I go, no, I'm sober.
Oh, yes.
I was Cali sober.
The staunch, yes, Cali sober. I died. That's so funny.
I know. I hate my sister's, isn't it Portland sober? And I was like, oh no, that's when you still do mushrooms. And are you kidding me?
I've never heard of that either. Oh my God, that is.
You haven't?
I clearly don't know the different tiers of sobriety. sobriety. I need to get tapped in.
I don't know. And other people have been like, that's actually this sober. And I'm like, okay, when I say Cali sober, most people know what I'm talking about.
Oh my God.
I've never even been to Cal. No, I've been to California. I can't say I haven't because I've been to Tahoe.
Yeah, that is hilarious.
So, but let's shift gears a little bit and talk about your YSP adventures, because I did the Lake Tahoe sober retreat in, gosh, I think it was 2024. I think it was a while ago now. And I was 5 years alcohol free, and I was feeling a little stagnant, and I was feeling a little depressed in my life. I'll be real. We were doing our house build. I still lived in a camper trailer, and all of a sudden you popped up, and I hadn't seen you on social media for such a long time. I don't know why not, just because that's how the algorithm works.
Yeah.
And I was like, a sober retreat? And I was like, this lady's always seemed pretty fun. I'm gonna do this. I showed my husband, I was like, it's gonna cost a little, and he's just do it. I don't know, you're in some sort of funk. If this is gonna make you feel better, fill out the thing. And I was like, oh, and it was a game changer for me on my sobriety. Obviously, I quit smoking weed too, and I bonded with a lot of women. But talk about your YSP adventures. What's coming up this year? What could people still hop into, and all of that stuff?
Well, I also want to throw out there that I ended up asking you to co-host that retreat. You signed up to,
which I wasn't expecting.
You signed up to be a participant, and then my co-host ended up not being able to co-host. And I had seen your content and your community, the program, and I was like, I think she'd be really well suited for this. And I'm so grateful to you because you brought a whole new level of interactive workshops, and just you brought something really special to the retreats that I've actually kept to this day.
Cool.
And it just goes to show how impactful your work is and your impact on people in this space. But yeah, the retreat, okay, that was an amazing retreat, by the way. That was great. And our group is still super close.
Yes. There's talks of another reunion now in the message thread.
I know.
I'm like, yes.
I love it. But yeah, so I host and organize sober adventure retreats for now sober curious women. And I got into this because I really love adventuring. And I feel like one of the things I was scared of when I got sober was I would not be able to socialize with people and make new friends. And also I thought life would be boring. And I feel like I really so I designed these retreats to remind women that they don't need alcohol to feel alive and connect with people and have a blast and laugh super hard and have growth as well. Yeah. And it's been an amazing journey. Every year I learned something new. It's happened very organically because people asked for it. And now the business has grown. We have backpacking trips so girls can learn how to backpack and maybe find their favorite new hobby, I hope, because it's my favorite hobby. And it's been amazing. And we also have a scholarship program for Backpacking 101 for anyone who can't afford to join an experience. It's just been an amazing journey.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. I always tell my community about it when you've got signups happening. I'm like, put this on your sober bucket list and I'm always like, and if you're looking at Laura and you're thinking, I don't know if that's my type of retreat, then find a retreat because there's a pretty big array of them out there.
There is. I say the same thing because I know mine are a little bit more on the adventurous side. They're probably a little bit more tailored for the sober outdoorsy girls, but there's really relaxing meditation retreats, and there's just so many different kinds of sober retreats. And I highly agree with you. I highly recommend. They are pricey for sure, but they are so life-changing. And I've actually never been on a retreat, believe it or not. And I'm looking to do my first one next year as a guest.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, you'll love it.
I'm so excited.
And I was even co-hosting, so I was still being mom.
Yes.
Is what I told the ladies. I'm your mom. I'm going to kind of do the chores and cook your food. Laura's going to come in and be dad and be super fun.
Yeah. It was a good balance. It's a good balance. But I come out of those retreats feeling so renewed and inspired in my sobriety. And I'm like,
oh, I bet.
And that's just hosting. If I got to just chillax and be one of the participants, I feel like it'd be really revolutionary. So I'm excited to try.
Yeah. And I want you to know too, as a listener, that even though they say sober adventure retreats, I felt like there were and when I watch the women who go through your retreats, it looks like it's all different levels and you can participate in what you want to participate in. And there was that when you talk about a meditation, we had that.
Yes, we did.
We had a sound bath and we had some yoga. Cause I remember even by the last day of yoga, I was like, yoga, which I hate saying because so many of our sober baddies are yoga people. I want to be a yoga person.
I'm with you. I'm
so
not
bad.
a yoga person. I'll do them at my retreats.
And then I'm always like, yeah, I like it. Whenever I do it, I'm like, oh, this was good. But I think by the third day, I was like, getting easily distracted by birds and making the other women laugh. And I was like, okay, I clearly should sit one out. Like,
oh my God. Yeah, but yeah, I do try to do a nice mix of things like grounding stuff because I want people to not just be like adventure and there's no relaxation, no time to decompress. Because it's like that's part of it is learning how to decompress in healthy ways that doesn't involve alcohol and there's time for connection. And so yeah, the sound baths are, I don't think I had done a sound bath until I did mine. And
yeah, me neither.
I was into it. I liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I keep joking with Ryan that I'm going to get sound healing certified because
there's a
yoga studio in my teeny tiny town.
Yeah.
We were driving by and I was like, Hood Canal Yoga? What? And I looked her up online. I was like, I need to get sound certified right now so I can start being the sound bath lady in the Hood Canal.
Like, oh my! I have sound bowls, and I'm like, I have them. I should just get certified because I bought them for.
You should totally get certified.
I bought them for Chelsea. Chelsea is one of the girls that was on the Tahoe retreat, but I bought them for Chelsea.
Yeah, she's been on our podcast.
Oh, she has. Oh, Chelsea is an amazing sound healer, and I bought those bowls for her because she co-hosts with me quite a bit. And I'm like, let's get some portable bowls. And then I'm like, I have them sitting around. Maybe I should just learn for funsies. Certainly a method.
There you go.
We'll see.
And then you can just be sound bowling it up. So what is still available? You still have a few spots available in your retreats this year, right?
Yeah, I have two spots or maybe one spot left in my Smoky Mountain Adventure Retreat, which is in October. That'll be in the Smokies. And we should be seeing some colors at that time of year. I just had a spot open up in the Lake Tahoe Adventure Retreat, but I do have a little bit of a line for those spots. So I'm still shuffling through those applicants. And then I have plenty of space left in my Ultra Novice Backpacking 101 course in July. So if there's anybody that wants to learn how to backpack, but maybe they're scared about hiking super far or doing something super strenuous, this is actually a super easy 0.8 mile hike to camp. It's flat. And the camp area where we're going to be is absolutely gorgeous. It's going to be amazing. And so I really wanted to have something that's very accessible for people who might be recovering from an injury, or maybe they're just nervous about their hiking ability in the early summer. So we have a lot of space in that one. So highly recommend checking it out. And a couple spots left in the September Backpacking 101, which is a little bit more strenuous.
Cool. People should check it out. Do a retreat.
Yes.
You're offending me if you haven't done one of Laura's retreats yet. No.
And we're looking into doing our first international in February of 2027. So I'm scouting areas.
Very cool. Yeah. Get on Laura's. I will put your link below so people can get on your email list because that's your best way. Because you also now do monthly sober hangs.
Yes.
So you can go hang out with Laura and her sober girlies and just chill once a month. They're totally free. And then get on our waiting list so you're ready for those. And maybe you're listening and you're like, I can't do a retreat this year. Then you need to get on the waiting list so you're there for when they open.
Yes,
for next year.
Absolutely. So much fun.
Right. And where can our listeners find you on social media?
If people want to find me
and your website.
Oh, yeah. Your Sober Pal everywhere. A lot of people think it's my Sober Pal. It's your Sober Pal. So at Your Sober Pal on Instagram, at www.yoursoberpal.com on the internet. Then you can sign up for emails. You can look at all of our retreats, all of our backpacking courses. You can look into our scholarship. And yes, like you mentioned, we do a monthly virtual hangout for the sober and the sober curious girls, where a girl comes and she shares her story, and then we open it up to hang out and chat. So if people want to come to that, it's free, and you can just come and lurk in the shadows with your camera off if you prefer and you're feeling shy, or you could participate, whatever you want to do. And that's once a month, and you can learn more about that on my website.
I love that. All right. Thank you so much for being on the podcast, and I will definitely have you on again.
I appreciate that. I love coming, so I'll be there.
All right. Thanks again.
Thanks, Sarah.
I hope you enjoyed listening to that episode as much as I enjoyed getting to record it. It is so fun when I get to sit down with a friend and talk about sobriety and bring it to you. I hope that you feel like you're sitting in the room with two sober pals, because that's exactly what you're doing when you get to sit down with Laura. She truly is your sober pal. So if you're needing somebody to walk alongside you in this journey and somebody that'll keep it light and keep it fun, Laura is your lady. Remember to follow Laura on TikTok, Facebook, or Instagram at Your Sober Pal, and be sure to connect with her by getting on her email list at yoursoberpal.com. Before I hop off today, I just want to remind you to leave a review for this podcast if you haven't already. At this point, the No More Wasted Days podcast is brought to you with no sponsors and is completely free. So if you're looking for a way to support the podcast, writing a review is the way. So if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, write a review today. And if you're listening on Spotify or YouTube, just leave a comment and interact with this podcast. All right, thank you so much for listening, and I will be in your ear in the next episode.